Hello, everyone. My name is Rick Kohut, and I am grateful for this opportunity to do something that I love to do, which is talk about technology tools. I want to start, though, by telling you where I discovered this tool and really how and why I discovered this tool. And the tool we're going to look at today is Padlet. Now, I was in the classroom this time last year. It was my 17th year in the classroom. I'd used a lot of technology across those years, but last year, because of the unique, underscore unique, teaching situation that we all found ourselves in, I needed to have even more tech tools in my back pocket. And I used three besides the ones that the school gave me, like the learning management system and so forth. These are tools I discovered on my own, and quite frankly, in some cases, I actually paid for on my own. But they were tools that solved huge, huge problems. Because last year, for most of the school year, I was in a hybrid teaching situation. So I had a number of kids in front of me in the classroom, and that number varied depending on what time of year and where we were in the pandemic. I had a group of kids who were always on Zoom watching me synchronously live as they were there at home. And then for a good chunk of the year, I also had a third group of students who were watching me synchronously on Zoom, but they were in an auxiliary space, literally down the hall. But social distancing, keeping the kids apart, that was why they were there. Now, it was tricky, challenging, because I had three different groups of kids, right? In front of me, at home on Zoom, and then in an auxiliary space on Zoom. And each one of those groups had different needs. And one of the things I really wanted to make sure that I would do was that they could interact with each other. So these three tools that I used last year, all of them in a very real, very powerful way allowed the kids in front of me, the kids at home, the kids in the auxiliary space to interact as one class. And that was really, really important for me. So the three tools that I use, the first is what I'm using to record this, Screencast-O-Matic. I recorded most of my direct instruction. Kahoot, assessment, what a great tool. Kids at home, kids regardless of where they were sitting could get involved, get excited with the assessment. But Padlet is the most important tool. And again, it was so significant because it solved not one, but not two, but three problems for me. First of all, it gave me a way for students to create assignments, and not just boring old, write some essay questions in a document kind of assignments. It actually, as you'll see, filled the role of make a poster or make a visual, and that was one of the ways I used it. The second way was discussion, and this is so vital in the kind of classes that I like to teach. And I knew that I couldn't have the kids turn their desks and face each other. I knew that the kids in front of me and the kids at home and the kids in the auxiliary, they couldn't physically talk to each other. So we needed a place in real time that they could do that. And Padlet was that place. And then finally, the third was where I could illustrate concepts, illustrate ideas in a way that they could interact with, a way that they could respond to. All right. So let me show you a few basic navigational tools of Padlet, and then I will show you some examples of Padlets that I used last year to solve those three problems: assignments, discussion, and illustration. All right. So this is the basic Padlet template. I put this particular background in. It comes with a whole bunch of different kinds of backgrounds. It also comes with different templates. I'm using the most basic one here, which is basically like sticky notes, post-it notes on a wall. But from the get-go, you can choose a timeline, you can choose a map, you can choose any number of templates. And if you have already put content in and you say, hey, I want to use a different template, I'll show you how to do that as well. All right. So we're going to start with just a basic post. So we double click right here. And today, as I'm recording this, it is Super Bowl Sunday. And for the first time in a very long time, we have an Ohio team here in the Super Bowl. So we're going to say, go Bengals. Now, I do realize that when you are watching this, you're going to know who won, right? So right now, hope springs eternal. I hope there's a victory party for the Bengals, but you will know. I do not know. So I want to go ahead and put something with this. Now, I could very easily just go ahead and publish this. There we go. That is not terribly exciting, and that's just the heading. I'm going to say I really hope they win. Again, you're going to know. That's what is sort of odd about doing this, right? So I'm going to update this now. You see there's a title and a bit of text. I can change the color. We'll make it orange for the Bengals. But I want to add something else to this. And I'm going to have a number of different things that I can add. And I'm going to do an image search right here. So we're going to say, we're going to put Bengals in, and we're going to see what kind of image. We're going to put Go Bengals. All right, we'll put that in. And look at that. We have an activity book right here. It will bring the image up. It's the cover of a book here. And we'll click Update. Looks like it's going to take a minute to load. But we're going to have right here in the slide, we're going to have an image in a moment. That's taking a little too long. Let's change that. So we'll come back here. We're going to update. We're going to remove that image. You can see how flexible this is. It's just amazing. So we'll just do, we're just going to put Bengals in. Keep it simple. So here is the Bengal logo. We will click on that, click Update, and there it is. All right. Now, I want to show you another cool thing that you can post. You might have seen that when I brought that up. We're going to say Eye of the Tiger, right? Because, they're Bengals, and, I imagine, I don't know for sure, but I imagine that song is kind of important for them. We're going to come over to YouTube. You could actually even search for that, and there's Eye of the Tiger, right? Survivor, very cool, well-known song from Rocky, and you could play it right here in the Padlet. So a kid who is putting together some kind of a presentation, or if I'm putting together a presentation that I want them to watch on their own to, flip the classroom situation, I can do this right here. I'm going to show you one more thing that I actually think is my favorite tool in this particular view, and that would be connecting them. So I click Connect, and I could say, Go Bengals. Go Bengals, there we go, and click that, and then suddenly there is a connection. You can see it's labeled it, and then as I move around, it moves with that. All right. So a couple other key buttons to know. This magic button right here is where you do all the modifications. You can make this so kids can respond to each other's posts. They can give feedback, change the font, change the look, change all types of different aspects of this. You can also come over here and share it. Many different ways that you can share it. QR codes. If you can imagine it's a way to share it, Padlet has probably provided it for you. And then lastly, I mentioned this remake, right? You want it to put your content in a different format. That's the way to do it. Click the remake button. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of examples. You'll see that I use this as a visual, right? So I wanted the kids to read an article. What I did was I copied and pasted text from the article, made it interactive, brought images up. They want to kind of go further on an image. This is really not designed for me to walk through it, but designed for students to be able to go through it at their own pace. I could put videos in here, I could put audios in here, so on and so forth. Again, one great aspect of this is I could create a blank board and then ask the students to do exit tickets. Because if I have shared this with my students in real time, they could be posting their own blocks or their own sticky notes and give feedback to me, conversation to each other, responding. I mean, it was fantastic what Padlet was able to do. I want to show you one last thing, and this solved a huge problem for me, all right? So I'm going to show you this example right here. I taught theology, and one of the things I always taught in Bible is kids needed to know the books of the Bible and what section they were in, right? And in years past, I would print that up on paper, they would cut them out, and they would just move them around, and it would just be sort of, very tactile, very much in front of them. But I wasn't giving out paper last year. I never actually handed any of my students a piece of paper, so I wasn't going to start with this particular assignment. But what students were able to do is I made this board, copied it individually to each and every student, so they had their own copy, and then what they could do was move these around, kind of shuffle them, if you will, and then to practice, put them into the right categories. And again, it solved a huge problem. And I think really on its best days, that's what technology does. That's what ed tech tools do, is they solve problems. And they make teachers' lives easier, they make students better learners, they help everyone in those cases. So again, thank you. I hope you learned something about Padlet. I appreciate your time, You all take care.